Hello everyone, and welcome to VetImageLab. As you know, we are continuing our gastrointestinal imaging series. In this lecture, we'll discuss gastric dilatation-volvulus, or GDV, one of the most important gastrointestinal emergencies in veterinary medicine. We will focus on how to distinguish GDV from simple gastric dilatation using a systematic radiographic approach, and we will review several clinical cases to illustrate important diagnostic features and pitfalls. Let's get started. GDV is a life-threatening emergency in which the distended stomach rotates, resulting in gastric outflow obstruction and vascular compromise. Because delayed diagnosis can lead to gastric ischemia and necrosis, rapid and accurate recognition is critical. Although GDV is most commonly reported in large, deep-chested dogs, it can also occur in small breed dogs. Therefore, whenever a patient presents with acute gastric distension, GDV should be carefully considered and excluded regardless of breed. Let's briefly review the pathophysiology of GDV. The development of GDV is closely related to the anatomy and mobility of the stomach. As we discussed in the previous lecture on normal gastrointestinal anatomy, the stomach is divided into four main regions: the cardia, fundus, body, and pyloric region. The stomach is attached proximally to the esophagus at the gastroesophageal junction, and distally to the proximal duodenum through the pylorus. These two attachment points are relatively fixed. In contrast, the fundus, body, and pyloric region between these attachment points are relatively mobile. When gastric dilatation occurs because of the accumulation of gas, fluid, or ingesta, the stomach progressively enlarges. Because of its mobility, the distended stomach can rotate around the axis, connecting the gastroesophageal junction and the proximal duodenum. To better understand this process, imagine twisting a wet towel while holding both ends. Although the ends remain relatively fixed, the middle portion undergoes the greatest degree of twisting. As shown by the red marker, a point that was originally located in the center is carried to a different position as the towel twists. A similar process occurs in GDV. As the stomach twists, the pylorus moves away from their normal right-sided position on a ventrodorsal view and ventral position on a lateral view, becoming displaced dorsally and toward the left side. This rotation results in gastric outflow obstruction, preventing gas, fluid, and ingesta from leaving the stomach. At the same time, twisting and compression of the gastric vessels compromise blood flow to the gastric wall. Venous return is compromised first, resulting in congestion and edema of the gastric wall. Then, arterial perfusion decreases, which may ultimately lead to gastric ischemia and necrosis. The enlarged stomach can also compress the caudal vena cava and portal vein, reducing venous return to the heart and contributing to obstructive shock. Because these life-threatening complications can develop within a short period, early diagnosis and prompt treatment are essential in patients with suspected GDV. In clinical practice, GDV must be differentiated from simple gastric dilatation. Both conditions may present with abdominal distension and non-productive retching. In severe cases, simple gastric dilatation may also be accompanied by tachycardia and hypotension, making it difficult to distinguish the two conditions based on clinical signs alone. Therefore, let's work through a systematic radiographic approach to differentiating these two conditions. First, identify the location of the pylorus. Second, look for evidence of gastric compartmentalization. Third, evaluate the splenic changes. Let's examine each of these features one by one. Step 1. Let's begin by evaluating the overall orientation of the stomach with particular attention to the location of the pylorus. To simplify the orientation of the stomach, let's think of it as consisting of two pouches. The fundus and gastric body form the larger pouch, while the pyloric antrum and pylorus form the smaller pouch, because the pyloric region has a more limited capacity for distension and therefore remains relatively small even when the stomach becomes markedly enlarged. Under normal conditions, on lateral views, the larger pouch is positioned dorsally and the smaller pouch ventrally. In this patient, the larger and smaller pouches remain in their normal positions despite marked gastric distension. Therefore, the overall gastric orientation is preserved, supporting a diagnosis of simple gastric dilatation rather than GDV. In GDV, as the stomach twists, the pylorus, the smaller pouch, becomes displaced dorsally relative to the large pouch. So, on lateral radiographs, simple gastric dilatation and GDV can be differentiated based on whether the smaller pouch is positioned ventral or dorsal to the larger pouch. Now, let's evaluate the stomach on a ventrodorsal view. Under normal conditions, the gastric fundus and body, the larger pouch, are located on the left side, while the pyloric antrum and pylorus, the smaller pouch, are positioned on the right. In this patient, the larger and smaller pouches remain in their normal positions despite gastric distension, supporting a diagnosis of simple gastric dilatation. In GDV, the smaller pouch, consisting of the pyloric antrum and pylorus, moves toward the left side, relative to the larger pouch. In addition, the twisted and overlapping gastric walls appear as a band of soft tissue opacity between the two pouches in GDV. This radiographic appearance is referred to as gastric compartmentalization, commonly known as the double bubble sign. So, in step 2, check for gastric compartmentalization. At this point, one important caution is that although gastric compartmentalization strongly supports a diagnosis of GDV, its absence does not exclude GDV. Therefore, compartmentalization should always be interpreted together with the overall gastric orientation, and most importantly, the position of the pylorus. Now, let's apply the systematic approach we have discussed to a clinical case. This patient was a 2-year-old standard poodle that presented with acute vomiting and depression after exercise shortly after eating. At first glance, the stomach appears markedly distended. The question is, does this patient have simple gastric dilatation or GDV? First, let's assess the overall gastric orientation. On the lateral view, the larger pouch, yellow, remains dorsal to the smaller pouch, the red. On the ventrodorsal view, the larger pouch is still positioned on the left, whereas the smaller pouch remains on the right. There is no evidence of gastric compartmentalization. Therefore, despite marked gastric distension, the gastric orientation is preserved, supporting a diagnosis of simple gastric dilatation. Gastric decompression and supportive care resulted in complete resolution of the gastric dilatation without surgery. Interestingly, this same patient returned 7 months later with acute vomiting, hypersalivation, and depression. Once again, the stomach is severely distended. Does this patient still have simple gastric dilatation, or has GDV developed this time? On the lateral view, the smaller pouch is no longer located ventral to the larger pouch. Instead, it is displaced dorsally. In addition, gastric compartmentalization is evident, creating the characteristic double bubble appearance. These findings indicate abnormal gastric rotation and confirm a diagnosis of GDV. In addition, the marked dilation of the esophagus is observed. This finding is likely secondary to GDV. As the stomach rotates and becomes severely distended, obstruction at the gastroesophageal junction may impair the normal passage of gas and ingesta, resulting in esophageal dilatation. In this dog, surgical reduction and gastropexy were performed to treat the GDV. Finally, evaluate the spleen. Because the spleen is closely attached to the greater curvature of the stomach, through the gastrosplenic ligament, rotation of the stomach often results in displacement of the spleen as well. As a result, splenic enlargement and displacement are common secondary radiographic findings in dogs with GDV. The spleen may appear enlarged because venous outflow is compromised before arterial inflow, leading to congestion. In some cases, the spleen is displaced from its normal location, while in more severe cases, splenic torsion may occur. Although these findings may support the diagnosis of GDV and provide additional information about disease severity, they are not required for diagnosis of GDV itself. Now, let's apply our systematic approach to a case. This is a 13-year-old Cocker Spaniel. The patient presented with acute abdominal distension and signs of shock. Looking at these radiographs, the stomach appears severely distended. On the lateral view, the larger pouch occupies the ventral abdomen, while the smaller pouch has moved dorsally. This abnormal relationship between the two compartments indicates gastric rotation. In addition, marked esophageal dilatation is present. This is likely secondary to obstruction at the gastroesophageal junction caused by severe gastric distension and rotation, which prevents normal passage of gas and ingesta into the stomach. Behind and partially superimposed on the gas-distended stomach, we can identify a markedly enlarged soft tissue opacity structure. This structure is the spleen. The spleen is enlarged and abnormally displaced. Gastric rotation can stretch or twist the splenic vessels, impairing venous drainage and resulting in splenic congestion and displacement. Now let's evaluate the ventrodorsal view. The larger pouch occupies most of the abdomen, while the smaller pouch has moved dorsally and toward the left side. On the magnified image, you can see the gas-filled smaller pouch positioned cranial to the larger pouch. This is the abnormally displaced pyloric compartment. In addition, do you see the soft tissue opacity structure located behind the distended stomach? This is the spleen. The spleen extends across a large portion of the cranial abdomen, reflecting severe venous congestion secondary to gastric rotation. Therefore, both the lateral and ventrodorsal projections support the diagnosis of GDV. In addition, secondary findings, including splenomegaly and esophageal dilatation, can also be identified. In this patient, surgery confirmed a 360-degree gastric volvulus. So far, we have focused on the classic radiographic findings of GDV. However, the clinical context is also an important part of the diagnostic process, and not every patient presents in a typical way. GDV occurs most commonly in large, deep-chested breeds such as Great Danes, German Shepherds, Standard Poodles, and Weimaraners. However, it can occur in dogs of any breed, including small breed dogs. In addition, GDV can cause acute gastric distension, gastric outflow obstruction, vascular compromise, gastric necrosis, and shock, making it a true emergency. However, in some patients, gastric decompression may allow the stomach to return spontaneously to its normal position, with resolution of the volvulus. Let's look at some cases that illustrate these less typical clinical presentations. This patient was a 16-year-old Shih Tzu that presented with depression, anorexia, shock, and hypotension. The stomach is markedly distended, and the gastric orientation is abnormal. On the lateral view, the smaller pouch, highlighted in red, represents the pyloric compartment and is displaced dorsally. On the ventrodorsal view, it is displaced toward the left side. These findings support a diagnosis of GDV rather than simple gastric dilatation. This case emphasizes that GDV should not be excluded based on breed or body conformation alone. This is our last case. This patient was a 13-year-old Weimaraner that developed acute vomiting immediately after rolling around during play. The dog was brought to the hospital shortly afterward, and radiographs showed marked gastric distension and abdominal enlargement. The pyloric compartment was displaced dorsally on the lateral view and toward the left side on the ventrodorsal view, supporting a diagnosis of GDV. The stomach was immediately decompressed by removing the gas, and follow-up radiographs were then obtained. On the post-decompression images, the larger and smaller gastric pouches had returned to their normal relative positions. When we compare the initial and follow-up radiographs, we can clearly see that the pyloric compartment moved from an abnormal position back to its normal location. This case represents spontaneous resolution of the gastric volvulus following decompression. As these cases demonstrate, GDV is a dynamic disease. It can occur in dogs of any breed, and the degree of gastric distension alone is not sufficient to establish the diagnosis. In some patients, the radiographic appearance may change rapidly, particularly after decompression. Therefore, early recognition and prompt treatment remain essential. Let's summarize this lecture. Regardless of the clinical presentation, a systematic radiographic approach remains the key to diagnosing GDV. Always evaluate gastric orientation, identify the pyloric compartment, assess gastric compartmentalization, and look for associated splenic abnormalities. Most importantly, do not exclude GDV simply because the patient does not fit the classic signalment. Thank you for watching. I hope this lecture has helped you develop a systematic approach to diagnosing GDV on radiographs. If you have encountered an interesting or unusual case of GDV in your own practice, please share your experience in the comments below. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for future content from VetImageLab. I'll see you in the next lecture.